The Backwards Hat Clan is at you once again. Episode 126 of the Unplugged Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Jesse Velasquez, here on this Wednesday evening. And my guest today, you are quite familiar with. This will be his third time on said show. From the We Got Next podcast, I think. Jacob DeLawrence, how are you?
Yeah, I think this is 3 or 4. I'm pretty sure it's 3. But yeah, the We Got Next podcast, everybody's favorite podcast that is in a state of hibernation, but it's coming back because it's like detox. My podcast has become the detox of podcasts. It's coming, I promise you. At someday you will get a brand new episode of We Got Next. I just don't know when, and that's largely my fault. So when said sees this, I'm not blaming him this time. It's me. It's my fault. But I'm good, Jesse. How are you tonight, man?
You're owning it, Jacob. That's great to hear. You should probably put one out Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Just go through. Is it Battleground? Is that what's going on this Sunday?
Yes, it is Battleground, which looks actually to be a pretty decent card.
Do you see Tiffany Stratton's getting a NXT Women's Championship final match? I am unclear on who she's wrestling. You're shaking your head right now.
I'm not the biggest Tiffany Stratton fan. She's gotten a lot better. I know we didn't come here to talk Tiffany Stratton, but while we're on it, she's gotten a lot better. Just, I don't need another generic blonde.
That's fair enough.
Gimmick of Daddy's Girl, it's like, I get it. No idea is original, but damn, give me something. But no, she's wrestling. I cannot remember her name. She's a tall brunette. I think she is an indie, like kind of indie darling. I don't think she's one of the uh NIL recruits. So it looks to be good. I think the more interesting women's story in NXT is Gigi Dolan and JC Jane having a weaponized cage match next Tuesday after Battleground. Way to get ratings for a post PLE show. And also, who is over here whooping Roxanne Perez's ass in the background? Well, that's more interesting in the women's division right now, and the NXT tag titles that are on SmackDown. But that's a different story for a different podcast for a different day.
The Raw Women's Championship is on SmackDown. The SmackDown Women's title is on Raw. I mean, hey, Sami Zayn's going to be in Saudi Arabia, which we will be touching on here briefly.
Ooh, ooh. Yeah, we'll talk about that because I got some thoughts and comments on that one.
You and I both most certainly do at this point. And if you are watching this live, feel free to drop a chat somewhere in these comments, whether that is YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. In a couple of weeks, we'll be on Facebook Live here, getting a group up and running. So shout out to all of you who have listened on audio. This is video number 2. I'm going to quickly go over the format. Before we touch on 2 matches for the WWE, that would be Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. And then we will close the show with AEW Double or Nothing, as Dynamite has just ended, not even 15 minutes ago. I have to introduce Jacob to wrestling Twitter and its hilariousness. Are you ready?
So I listen to the show every week, and between the Dragnet music that pops me every time because it reminds me of my childhood, and some of these takes, some of them are pretty bad, and I think a lot of your fans and listeners will say I'm the WWE guy when I show up because I tend to look at things a little less, not cynical, but a little less critical than you look at it because I know what to expect from that side. Like, I don't expect a 5-star meal from damn Red Lobster. Like, so my expectations are a little different. But no, some of these takes, I'm just like, I couldn't defend it, couldn't do it. Why? Who tweets some of this shit? Like, I know I've said wild stuff, and one time I thought it was one of my takes. I was like, okay, no, never mind. That wasn't me. We're good. But yeah, no, who does this? So I'm interested to see what we got today.
So we only have 2. I did scour Twitter a lot over the last week and a half, and there were just a lot of, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, vulgarity. There was a ton of it, a lot of sexual stuff, a lot of back and forth between people that probably should not be aired on these waves. So,
I mean,
with all of that being said, Jacob,
on TV.
yes, that is accurate. Let's roll. And let's pull it all up for everybody here. I know this is not the greatest for the audio folks, but this is going to pop the video folks. And let's get this up and running. We will begin with this puppy. If you can see that. No. Right here. If Cody Rhodes actually works with Bray Wyatt, I definitely see a Firefly Funhouse episode where Stardust makes an appearance. Jacob, your thoughts?
I don't hate that.
Okay.
I mean, Cody might hate it, but I don't hate it. So here's my thing with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is good. He's he's a poor man's Dusty. As bad as that sounds, he's a rich poor Dusty. Whereas Dusty was the everyman, Cody is the upper. Cody is the middle class man that no longer exists. He's the upper middle class that does not exist. So yeah, why not send Cody back to what he called like his darkest times of Stardust? And Cody's great because Stardust should not have worked. Just like Goldust should not have worked for all those years, Stardust should not have worked. Why not? You mean to tell me you wouldn't enjoy a Firefly Funhouse segment with Stardust?
Maybe a couple years ago when I liked Bray Wyatt, that's my problem. It has nothing to do with Cody Rhodes right now. This is on Bray Wyatt, and if he's making a return, and quite frankly, I hope he doesn't.
So Bray Wyatt, at a certain point, I stopped feeling bad for Bray Wyatt
Mhm.
because for the longest, I was like, okay, Bray can't get over because of creative, because Vince looks at Bray and doesn't get it. I think the thing we talked about this last one of the times I appeared, that whole Hell in a Cell match, that was like the moment where it's like, all right, he's dead in the water. Nothing he does will work. And then we come back with this White Rabbit, and it was looking good. Uncle Howdy, I was hooked. Everybody's like, okay, this is taking too. I'm like, give it time, let it play out. It looks promising. We all know that everything Bray Wyatt does takes way too long at times to get to the point, but he usually sticks the landing. Usually. And then the Rumble happened, and I was like, you know what the hell with this? I was like, I'm done. I don't care. And then the reports of Vince coming back and Bray going, oh, Vince back? I'm gonna go home and miss out on Mania Payday. I think something's bothering me. Like, because I remember I tweeted you this after Elimination Chamber with Brock and Bobby, where you were like, what the hell kind of finish was that? I was like, storyline wise, it makes sense. It should have set up for Mania, and then you interject Bray Wyatt into it. And I was like, you know what? Nope, I'm done. I give up. I want nothing to do with Bray Wyatt. I don't need Bray Wyatt on my TV. It was looking good. He has lost all the mojo and everything that is going for him. Bray Wyatt himself is the problem because he has too many ideas and he's too creative for his own good. And you can't, when you put him in a box and try to make him paint or color inside the lines, he just shuts down. It's just Bray's got to go. Bray is great. Let Bray go do his horror movies and everything else. And also, to quote Andre as hell, you still got to ring the bell with Bray Wyatt.
Yep.
And I'm not even a high work rate guy, but still.
Yeah, he's lost it all. So that tweet had nothing to do with Cody Rhodes whatsoever. It had all the things in the world to do with Bray Wyatt.
Well, yeah, from that point, then yeah, I don't want to see it. If it's Bray, if we're looking at it from the Bray perspective, I'm good. But Cody as Stardust, I need Brock to just call Cody Stardust one time, just one time, just one
I
time,
think he just might. You never
and
know.
I'm a die laughing if he does it.
All right. This one is the second and last one. This one popped me so bad. Let's pull it up if we can. All right, here we go. Window. And bam. What's a match that you absolutely loved but feel has been underrated by the general public? I'll start. That is a picture, folks, of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Ric Flair, Chi-Town Rumble, 1989. Arguably one of the greatest pro wrestling matches in the history of said sport. How is it underrated, Jacob?
Hold on, real quick. I'll be right back.
The man has left camera, folks, and I will start with some commentary here as well. We're talking about, again, two of the most prestigious legends in the history of our sport. That's Ric
Oh,
Flair. That's Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Do I need to
Jesse,
pull it back up one more
could,
time?
could
He's rounding up the glasses. All right, here. Let's bring it back up one more time. Bing, bing, bing. This is for our audience. Now, this definitely makes, again, for compelling video stuff here. So, what's a match that you absolutely loved but feel has been underrated by the general public? I'll start. And again, this is Ric Flair versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, 1989 Chi-Town Rumble. Considered to be the worst of the trilogy, but still rated, I believe, a 5-star match by Dave Meltzer. And this was when Meltzer's ratings actually meant something, folks.
when the scale wasn't broken.
Exactly.
So if
There
you put this
hasn't
in
been.
Tokyo.
Yeah, we're going 6 or 7. I think, in all honesty, so the only 2 matches I have seen this year that I felt could touch a Flair and a Steamboat would be Omega and Ospreay and MJF and Danielson. I haven't watched really anything from Stardom, but anything outside of that, nothing has touched Flair and Steamboat from 1989. What do you think of this?
So yeah, I went and got the glasses and put the glasses on because I went to make sure I was looking at Ric Flair and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And like you said, that may have been the worst out of the trilogy, but that is still better than what 90% of most matches in wrestling history. Like, I'm sorry, what? Tell me you no, because not even a young wrestling fan would tweet that. Like, because they wouldn't necessarily know it or go watch it. So I'm really trying to figure out, like, tell me you just started watching wrestling without telling me. I, I, I'm at a loss of words. Like that is that bad. Oh, but something from this year that you could put up there. Are we looking at it from like a technical standpoint? What are we? Because Walter, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre at Mania, beautiful, beautiful, chef's kiss.
It was my
I
either favorite or second favorite WWE this match this year was that one.
I could argue if you look at it from a complete picture, and this is going to get me killed by somebody, Roman Sammy, you could probably put in that conversation, but you have to take everything into consideration for that. But if you're just going from bell to bell, McIntyre, Gunther, and Sheamus kind of deserves to be in that conversation.
If you take out the ref bump from Roman Sammy and you take out the last 3 to 5 minutes of that match, then I think you have a case. I thought it was
Yeah, that's
really
right.
good up until the ref bump.
Oh, it's a Roman match, for better or worse.
I know.
And we'll get to that when we talk about the champions because I have some things to say where people keep complaining about Roman's matches and want to go back to the attitude area. So we'll save that. But they really used Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Ric Flair.
Yes. And I will say this is by today's standards because you probably mentioned that this person probably didn't start watching until maybe 2004 and has no idea who Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is. He might be either the most underrated or underappreciated pro wrestlers, great ones of all time. He is not talked about in that Mount Rushmore conversation. Do I think he should be? He's missing a few things, but if I'm putting him into a top 15 of all time, his name's in the conversation.
Yeah, he's fringe top 15, top 10, but again, it all depends on what are the criteria that we're looking at. Because bell to
Yeah.
bell, there are a few better during his time.
I think from that time period, it might have only been Flair.
We're
in the
looking mid
ring
'80s in the ring.
in the
I could
United
argue,
States.
Dusty, but
Dusty was
again,
a
it
better
goes on styles.
storyteller. Yes. Yes. So again, Ricky had that, I don't know if it was a charisma thing that might have been missing or some sort of connection with the crowd, but when he got it right, and that's not just with Ric Flair, we're talking Randy Savage, the 1986 when he got put on the shelf when he was elbow dropped on his on the guard railing and he injured his throat, sold it for 4 or 5 months, got to
Mhm.
that moment in front of what WWE says was 93,000. It was probably high 70s, low 80s, and delivered at that time a WrestleMania match that wouldn't be touched until probably WrestleMania 10 with Bret and Owen.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, Savage, Bret Hart hadn't quite hit his stride yet. Yeah, that's safe to say that Savage, Flair, and Steamboat were probably your three best in the mid '80s.
Yeah, Savage I loved. There's zero question about that. So when he got his title reign in 1988, had it for the full year. Definitely deserved it, and he had a couple heels for him, but he didn't have that same heel roster that Hogan had for those 4 years where they were bringing in all the giants and fed them to Hogan, and
Well, that's because
the rest was
Hogan
history
beat
there.
everybody, and I mean everybody.
Hey, that sounds familiar.
Mm, mm, mm. We'll get there.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get there right now. We're going to touch really briefly on WWE United Champions, which again comes from Saudi Arabia. And before we mention the Roman Reigns stuff, I want to get your take on, for starters, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, the second iteration going. Seth Rollins and AJ Styles. First and foremost, do you like the third championship? And second, who's walking out with it?
I like how the belt looks. I think it's a beautiful belt. I think it's an updated, modern take on Big Gold. Could I do without the W right smack dab in the middle? Yeah. But was there going to be a W right smack dab somewhere? Yeah. So it could have been worse. They stuck it in subtly. Apparently, there's a lot of homages to the McMahon family crest and this and that and the design of the belt. Cool. Whatever. Great. Is this a third world title? A lot of people will say yes. I honestly say no. I say it's a second world title because when they unified those belts with Roman, they were just too lazy to make one belt. Actually, not even lazy. The money of all the merch and WWE shop and live events and everything dictates that Roman carries two belts. But if I'm not mistaken, they have merged the Universal title's history into the WWE title history. Yeah, is the undisputed Universal WWE Champion a mouthful? Absolutely. Can they rename this belt? Why have we not? Yeah, I don't hate it. I think it's a secondary belt, a second world title, Raw's world title, like the brand split back in the day. Here's how you know how important that belt is to them. When either the Nuggets, Celtics, or the Heat win the NBA Finals, what belt are they going to get sent? When whoever wins the Stanley Cup, what belt is getting sent? Do you send both? Do you send one? What are we sending? Because it looks like the side plates on the World Heavyweight title aren't customizable. I could be wrong. That could just be the default ones, but whatever belt they send, that is the belt that they care about in the moment. That is what they make feel important. And also, what are you going to do to make this belt feel like a world title? Me, you could go put a world title out right now, and boom, doesn't doesn't mean it's important. Look at every indie promotion. I'm sure they have GCW world title has started to become and feel important. Prior to the past couple of years, that belt has not was not important because GCW wasn't important. What are you going to do to make this version of Big Gold feel? I don't know if you can make it equal as long as Roman holds the other belt, but as Phil up there with it, where it's not a consolation prize, where it's not. We have booked ourselves into a corner, which I don't completely agree that they're in a corner. I just think they just don't want to pull the belts off of him because they caught lightning in a bottle. They extended the bloodline thing. They got everything going. And then somebody opened up the record books and was like, Hogan, Pedro, CM Punk, everybody that we don't like and those that we do. Where's Roman? Okay, he can erase Punk's reign as the longest reign in the modern era. He can go through this. It's 1,000 days. 1,000 days. That is a long time. So I think at this point they realize we're rewriting our history, which we could do on a whim anyway. But let's keep this thing going and let's milk it for what it's worth. It's a cash cow. The bloodline is still good. Things got a little tricky with the split, but they're making it work. So I think from their standpoint, we need another belt because Roman, to his credit, was smart and said, hey, so like I beat leukemia again. I came back. I went home during the pandemic and I came back and saved you again. I'm gonna need you to pay me more. And I'm gonna go spend some more time in Pensacola and beat Joe. And you got a multi-million-dollar contract and you only work so many days out of the year. By all means, go right ahead, sir. I'm not mad at you. And you don't even step in the ring that often. So yeah, they put themselves in a bit of a situation. Here's a belt. You could have got out of this sooner. Okay, cool. I don't hate it, and I think Seth is probably going to walk out with it only because you just drafted AJ Styles and the OC to SmackDown to presumably step in and deal with the bloodline at some point over the next few months. So why are we going to undo this anyway? Because that makes no sense. Nor did. So quick sidebar: Triple H loves triple threat matches that lead to singles matches. Great idea. Gets plenty of people on TV. You got to take at least 10, 15 minutes for a triple threat match. You want wrestling? We're increasing the wrestling. There's been more wrestling on TV since he's taken over, even with Vince's return. Great idea. I'll even let the whole SmackDown superstars can compete. You just, if you win, you go to Raw. I'll let that slide. I know you and I think Ryan Drosty have said dumbest idea in the world. Like you are killing your brand split before it even takes place. Fair point. But for the sake of, hey, this is anyone, anywhere can get it. Let's open it up. But if you win it, take your ass, take your ass to Raw. It's just like if Kevin and Sammy drop them belts, they are stuck on Raw. It makes sense in terms of brand split. Champions move different, so why not give everybody a fair crack? Kurt Angle won the WWE title when no the World Heavyweight title when Batista had to drop it, and he was a Raw superstar. They brought him from Raw to SmackDown to win the belt. It's wrestling. Let's be a little realistic with some of these things and let some of the looseness go. But back to trips in these triple threat matches. We could have made this a tournament of triple threat matches. Don't just give me two, and boom, we're right here at Night of Champions. Like, give me more. Give me something unique. I didn't need to see Theory, Lashley, and what was it, Sheamus, and I just saw two of those three in a match the weekend before. Like, throw Karrion Cross in there. Come on. He might not win, but if you put Cross in a triple threat and he looks like money but doesn't take the pin, you are rehashing him, you're rebuilding him. Why put Cody in this? We knew Cody wasn't going to win. Why? You're using it as a vehicle for Brock. Fine, cool. That spot could have went to somebody else. Build the next person. Those are my gripes.
I'll tie in Cody Rhodes into the next thing. I do want to ask you this, and I'm going to put you on the spot. I may even put myself on the spot as well. So since it was 2000, as at the end of 2002 when the World Heavyweight Championship was introduced or reintroduced, I know that Jericho won the undisputed titles double in
Mm-hmm.
2001. Has there ever been a time over the last 2 decades where both world champions were equals, where one title was not put ahead of the other? Because that's always been the biggest gripe of mine when it comes to these world championships.
Cena Batista.
And that would be it.
There was Trips, and I think Randy held them at similar times, at the same time. There may have been a slight overlap, but for the most part, yeah, it felt like whatever belt Cena didn't have was the lesser of the two. because Booker T is a what 5 time, four, 3 time in WWE the World Heavyweight Champ. Never held the WWE title. On the flip side, JBL is like a 3 or 4 time WWE champion. Never held big gold. The Dead Man held big gold. Edge held big gold. So it honestly it depends on who the belt was on. But I think Cena Batista might have been the most equal time where, or unless when the Miz had it and somebody else had it. That's the only time I can think.
That's where I think WWE put themselves in a bind was when they introduced this championship. They of course did it because they bought WCW and wanted to keep a little bit of the lineage, but at the end of the day, I think they always wanted to put the WWE championship first. And then at some point in time, it did not become the number one championship for a brief moment, and then it would flip back. It was all dependent on who held it, because even Punk held big gold a
Yeah,
couple
Punk held
times.
big gold and it didn't feel important until Punk.
Not at all.
But also that was the test run. I think they used big gold once it got off of trips and got through that Bischoff era. They used big gold as like a test run of like, all right, let's see how they react. Let's see how you move on house shows. Let's see how merch moves. Let's see how ratings look. Okay, then we'll go give you the world heavyweight title. Del Rio held big gold, got the WWE title. So it's like test run. It's like the we think we can. It's oh, this is going to sound horrible. They use these title belts like baseball uses the farm system. NXT, I guess we could put the world heavyweight title now, and then what Roman has, double A, triple A, majors. It's test run. It's for better or worse, and also it's just an accolade because for crying out loud, Honky Tonk Man has the longest arc. Still has it
Yes,
for now.
he
Yeah,
does, but not for too much longer. At least we hope.
right. So it's like also, again, it's pro wrestling. Let's not take this too serious, guys.
uh, I just, for me, just for being a lifelong fan, you as well, Jacob. I just, for me, traditionalist, one world championship. Let the person travel back and forth. That's just always the way I've felt.
Well,
You got anything to add?
yeah, no, that's not a bad idea. And you're right. Traditionally, one champion, like the undisputed title, Rock would bounce back and forth, Taker would bounce back and forth, Brock would bounce back and forth.
Mhm.
Great idea. Here's the problem: if you want to do that, your belts, those 2 belts have been held by Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, for the better part of the past 6 years, 5 years.
Yes.
In between, you've had Lashley, Drew carry you through a pandemic. The Fiend and Strowman hold Universal titles, like
Mhm.
and Seth. And for whatever reason, Seth just sucks when you put a world title on him. But we'll get to that later.
That's
It's
weird. Yeah. Kevin Owens.
KO who, yeah, it's just like, all right, you know, like you've had part time, big man that's limited, Bray Wyatt that you have to do a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors to make work, and not everybody can work in that
Hmm.
world. So yeah, you can, but you can't because now also back in the day, Raw, SmackDown, NBC networks. Raw's on USA, SmackDown is on Fox until those rates come up. You got to appease the people that are writing you $1 billion checks. I get it. So you
Yeah,
could,
that's
you do it with the
tough.
women's belts, but yeah. Which speaking of the women's belts, can we find a way? Can we not just do women's WWE champion, women's world heavyweight champ?
Yeah, you could do it that way instead of Raw and SmackDown, or
Yeah,
I should say unify them.
are that women's
Rhea
world
Bianca at
heavyweight?
WrestleMania next year.
That'd be great.
That's a mega match you can easily put on as your main event. Build it for 6 months.
And keep Dominique Mysterio around just so I can see him get beat with the braid. That's all I need.
Oh, Dominic Mysterio. He's grown on everyone, I think. Just the character as a whole. It's impressive. I'm maybe curious to see what he does when he gets away from his dad. That's the thing I'm gonna be. That's when we
I
get to
don't
see how much he's matured.
I don't think the dad is the problem. I think when he gets away from Rhea in Judgment Day, what does he have?
That's also fair. So it's a combination of the two. Definite
Definitely,
combination
definitely.
of the two. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to echo the same sentiments as you. I think Seth Rollins is going to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, the second iteration of it, which now is the third title belt. Let's just hope maybe Roman melts them together, and that's that for the Undisputed Universal Championship. I don't know what else they're going to do. Just
All right.
keep it black and
So
blue.
real, yeah. So real quick, if Seth wins, assuming Seth wins, who is first in line?
See, that's an excellent question. What does Raw have to offer from a contender's perspective? He just ran through four other guys. Cody's off on his own right now, wrestling with Brock. You got Money in the Bank coming up. I have no idea.
For the love of God, Cody cannot win this belt.
Oh, I don't think he's going to. I really
He
don't.
doesn't need to sniff it, be around it, nothing.
I agree with
And
you.
also, and one last thing on this World Heavyweight title. This is the biggest gripe I've had. This was a chance to make somebody, to establish something new.
Hmm.
Karrion Cross, Montez Ford, Bronson Reed, Gargano, Ciampa if he was healthy. You have all these names that you brought back, and all these that are sitting right there bubbling. Easily could have did it. Better yet, here's the perfect chance that you could have redone Finn Balor and done right by him since he never
Yeah.
got that run. That was allegedly supposed to be a lengthy Universal title run. It was right there, right there. Why not? Why not? Seth being a movie star anyway. Why not?
Let's add this question in. Geez, we're just going to keep adding on to this topic before we get to the tag team championships. And since you are definitely the NXT expert out of the two of us, do
Hmm.
you think that this audience right now in the WWE didn't necessarily watch NXT from like 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20? Because a lot of those folks, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's probably a good chunk that have moved on to the other indie, AEW, and maybe took some of that NXT fan base with them, where your WWE hardcore fans, like your main roster fans, they're maybe not as familiar, they're not as high on a Gargano and a Champa and Cross, the likes, like you and I were, because I was super high on Gargano and Ricochet and everybody coming up. Aleister Black when he came up. Keith Lee's another example. Do you think that's the problem? Is that these guys just aren't connecting on the main roster because that portion of the fan base has moved on?
So I think it's a twofold problem. One, you're right. I feel like half of that fan base has jumped to Wednesday nights, and that's fair. But also, look at the names you mentioned: Gargano, Keith Lee, Cross, Ciampa, so on and so forth. Almost all of them got canned and left. They all got released. They all, and also Cross was a dominatrix when he popped up. Keith Lee beat Randy Orton, like squashed him, and we were like, oh, okay, we're doing something here. 2 weeks later, he's Bearcat Keith Lee, and then he's gone because of COVID and complications and everything else, and then just could never get his footing right. Gargano, albeit Gargano, smart man, walked on his own terms to go be a dad, but like you were gone, you came back to NXT. People that remember you on the main roster don't necessarily have the fondest memories. So I think this is a lot of, yeah, half the people that know you are gone and you're into a new audience, but now we got to build you up. I think Triple H took these rehires and everything and was like, I have a very weak roster. I need to boost it. It's going to take some time. So, yeah, it's a bit of your audience is gone that would support you and give you the pops and the cheer. And yeah, main roster people just watch what's on USA. So yeah, it's a lot of things.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. It's just a completely different world when you get up to that main roster from Full Sail and the starved indie fans at that time.
Yeah,
Now it's just again,
definitely.
like you said, probably half that audience is left. So now it's a matter of trying to get them over. And Vince never wanted them over in the first place. So Triple
Right.
H is kind of sitting behind the eight ball there. And Ciampa's the only one I think that didn't leave and come back. I think he was just injured a couple times.
Yeah, no, he luckily for him, as messed up as it sounds, he caught an injury a lot of times. And then he
Yeah,
made what he had with Miz work, which is really great.
exactly. Well, let's get into it. We have Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens defending their undisputed WWE World Tag Team Championships against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Do you think that this is, first off, necessary? Let's tie a couple questions in it. Do you think Roman Reigns will be a double WWE champion, holding four, well, it'll be three championships? Yeah, well, it will be four title belts. What do you think of this bloodline? We're starting to see the next two or three chapters just kind of be fluff after WrestleMania. Are you still fully invested? And I will just start there with those two questions.
Do I see Roman being a double champ? A champ. No, I don't. It's because, well, well, there's an 80-year-old man back in control.
Yeah, and we're on day. By the way, Saturday will be the 999th day of Roman Reigns as your undisputed Universal Champion. Why isn't he defending that championship? That's a rhetorical question, by the way.
Because there's nobody to feed them to. There's nobody to feed to them right now. That makes sense. Which
Oh
is
yeah,
good. No, I'm actually glad that Roman is challenging for the tag belts and not defending the undisputed WWE Universal title because you would have had to shoehorn something quickly, hot shot it,
hmm
and burn through something unnecessarily.
agreed.
Roman's on the card for Money in the Bank, or he's advertised for Money in the Bank. That means I have from Monday, so the end of May through the 1st of July. I got a month and a half at most. I could build something. I could do something with the OC. I could do something with Lashley that forces the Hurt Business to reunite. And I can easily carry Money in the Bank in the SummerSlam in the Ford Field. So perfect. Good job. Great. Give him a tag title shot. Perfect. Do I see him winning? No. Do I feel like the bloodline is fluff right now? No. Do I feel like it's cooled off? Yes. However, if you read a book, if you read a story, if you watch a movie,
Right.
there's always multiple acts. You hit a crescendo at one point, it comes down, it builds back up to another crescendo. This is no different from watching Days of Our Lives or whatever soap opera. You hit that crescendo, Mania was the crescendo. You know what? The bloodline is playing out like The Wire. We'll say what we're in right now is season two. Very lull. Nobody really liked season two at the time, but it was key to the rest of the story. So all up to Mania with Sammy, that's season one. You got all the characters, you're interested, you're hyped, you're here for it, you're happy, great. And now you're like, why are we going to the docks to deal with these white guys? Like, what is this? That is where we're at now when you injected Matt Riddle. Nobody asked for it. Like,
hmm
why? I know why. Storyline wise, it makes sense. They took Randy out, they took him out. He had to go to rehab because he couldn't stop doing his business. I get it. Makes sense. Cool. But now we're laying the groundwork for the inevitable collapse of the bloodline. Oh, why would you guys dedicate this to me when we have the Wild Samoans in the family? I'm a solo wrestler. That's a great tag team. Why would you disrespect them? You can't get the
Right.
job. You guys stay home. You're laying the groundwork. Backlash. It looked like Solo was gonna spike him. I was like, "Ooh, are we gonna do this at Backlash?" Okay, like it's groundwork. This is the building up the next arc. We're laying groundwork. So, do I feel like it's fluff? No. Do I feel like it's a chore? Sure. but I can't build a 3-story house if I don't lay down the foundation. So we're laying foundation for maybe the last act of the bloodline, which ends up with them blowing up and probably Cody finally taking the belts off of Roman.
At SummerSlam, most likely.
Honestly, I think you can push it to Survivor Series.
That's an interesting take. I think I would either, me personally, be either SummerSlam or hell, Roman at WrestleMania next year. I know it's a
I
long
said
time, but
you could do Survivor Series, you can go to the Rumble, or if you really want to stretch it, you go to WrestleMania next year. Because I wrote an article and I was like, no, Cody should not have won. Cody had to finish a story, and he finished his story. His story was proving that he belonged. Not that he could win the big one or win the belt his dad never won. No, it was let me prove I belong at the top of the top of the card. That I am a true main eventer. I am truly that guy. Because you left because you felt like you weren't ever going to be that guy. You chose not to be the guy in the company you founded because you wanted to come back home. You went through the injury, the adversity. You got it back at the Rumble. Now you hit the mountaintop. Now you realize, hey, I can be that guy, but now I have more work to do. So let's go to Mania. But no, you get
yep.
through. Cody wins Money in the Bank. SummerSlam, you have whatever you got with either the OC or Lashley and Company. Meanwhile, at that point, let's just say that's where Jay and Solo finally fall apart. So now you have Jay versus Solo carry you through Survivor Series. Now Jimmy is torn. Now Jimmy breaks off. Now you have the Usos completely free. Now from Survivor Series through Rumble, Elimination Chamber, Usos versus Roman and Solo. Boom. At that point, Solo finally wakes up, realizes, you know what? They are my actual blood brothers. This isn't can't do this. Now Roman's a man on his own island by himself. Maybe you pull in Fatu from MLW. Maybe you
Been
bring
wanting that
in
one for a while.
a couple pieces here. Like there's a few other members of the bloodline out there. Maybe you bump up the Rock starter. Just keep Rocky the fuck away. I'm good. The window has closed on Rocky. Or maybe you bring Rocky into a Vi's Roman. Maybe you get Hill Rock. And it's like, nah, you don't need to beat me. I got your blessing. Here's how we can keep this intact. That's a nice spin.
I think
But
the
either way,
only, yeah, yeah.
Mania, Cody, I think that's like the final nail in the coffin where they completely turn on him, and then boom, we're done with the bloodline. There you go. So you can draw it, you can drag it out. You have pieces, you have groundwork. So it's just a matter of how long do you think you can sustain interest.
I have to throw this take in here, by the way. We need to keep calling Dwayne Johnson Rock because if you call him Rocky, he has to be at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia next year. Rocky, Philadelphia. You just can't keep the two apart. I'm sorry, you just can't. So don't. I'm sorry. We're going to refer to that man as Dwayne.
That is a peak dad joke. Well played, sir. Well played.
You have no choice. And by the way, there is somebody who hasn't seen Rocky 3 out there. And we won't mention that man's name.
Ah, yeah,
Or any of the Rockies,
yeah,
according to him. But
yeah.
I actually
That
just
guy.
looked this up, by the way. Yeah, we'll get into that here after this. About Saudi Arabia and Syria. Apparently that they have resumed the work of diplomatic missions in both countries for the first time in a decade. This just started 2 weeks ago. That's
Isn't
just
that about when they
amazing to
announced the
me.
match?
It right around that time, of course. They're like, "Oh yeah, okay, Sammy, you're clear now." Really? Ooh.
So here's my thing. KO wouldn't go to Saudi because of morals and supporting his best friend Sammy. And Sammy's not going because Sammy's of Syrian descent. Makes all the sense in the world. We all know the Saudis allegedly aren't the nicest and cleanest of people. Cool. Blood money for a reason. Allegedly. Again, allegedly. My initial thought when this match was announced, how big of a Brinks truck did they back up to his house? Either that or how much money did they donate to his mobile clinics? Like,
A
how many clinics did they
lot.
buy? What good faith deal did they have to do to get this man to go to Saudi Arabia, a country that is known for not being the most diplomatic and friendly, because Sammy's tights have Arabic on them. Do I know what they say? No. But if I was a betting man, it's probably something that doesn't necessarily align with the Saudi government's thoughts and opinions. So this is really risky for them to do just from a non wrestling standpoint because need we be reminded, one of those first couple trips over there, that plane got held up for hours. And you can listen to everybody's story about this, that, and the third, but there seems to be a common theme of them saying we were held captive without saying we were held captive. So good luck and Godspeed to Sammy. Hopefully he gets there, gets back with no issues. I just I don't know how his wife Khadijah can sit at home and feel comfortable with this.
I will. All right, I'm going to make this on air. There aren't that many people who listen to this podcast.
Hmm.
I'll donate half of a paycheck to the journalist that asks somebody in the WWE a question about Sami Zayn, Syria, and Saudi Arabia. I will donate to whatever cause that they want because nobody's going to even think of interrogating the WWE as to why Sammy is over there,
So here's
how
my
much money he
question:
was given,
are
all
they
that
going to
stuff.
do a presser?
They did
Are they
one
going to
the
do a
day
post-show presser in
before.
Saudi?
They did it the day yeah, they are doing one at noon tomorrow, by the way. Yes, it's at noon Eastern. It was just like
That's
now,
fine.
do you remember this from Crown Jewel? Do you remember last year when they were chanting the prince's initials?
No,
Terrible.
because I did I watch Crown Jewel?
I
I
did
like
not.
skimmed through. I skimmed through it, and what I did watch, I think I had on mute.
I did not, but I do know what happened at that press conference because it was all over social media. It was gross.
Dictatorships allegedly exist for a reason.
Oh, yes. Yep. That's exactly it. Which I'm actually going to tie that into one of my next episodes when we're going over the Edge 1998 with Steve Austin and Dude Love.
Is that's the Owen Hart one, isn't it?
That's a year later,
Year
1999.
later.
Yep.
Okay.
But the opening package is Steve Austin defying the hierarchy. And they show old clips of like 1900s wartime and dictatorships. And Vince being the dictator. Seriously. They use the words conform, yes, comply. It's amazing. This was 25 years ago. Austin was the
Oh,
renegade, and they tried to tie this in that Vince was the higher power. Oh, that will be
I mean
coming
he
up.
did. I mean he did put himself over God, so why am I surprised?
Yes, he did. So it is pro wrestling at the end of the day, folks. All right. Let's move on to Double
Yeah.
or Nothing right now. And we have 9 matches announced. Did you get a chance to get through all of Dynamite? I will be honest here in that the build leading up to this has been one of the worst in recent memory. I think even worse than Revolution was. I think other than your Blackpool Combat Club Elite match, I think the rest of the matches on here just there just really isn't much for me.
So I was at practice, basketball practice before I came home. I got the end of Dynamite, and that I have thoughts on that of why you would close out a AEW branded show with Ring of Honor tag team titles being defended. I get why from one perspective, but that's a separate issue. And I like caught clips and pieces of what happened on Dynamite. It seemed like a standard Dynamite. Here's the thing with AEW TV. I don't need to watch that shit weekly. I don't need to watch that shit bi-weekly. I can check Twitter, read results, and be caught up. AEW's TV, for better or worse, has become very New Japanish in the sense of, cool, you got a pay per view coming up? Okay, I'll watch the go home show and give me my 90-second package before the match, and I'll be all caught up because this build has been ass from every last aspect. Also, this card just filled out like what, a week ago?
Yes. Rampage filled out the last 3. So we do have 9 matches, and who knows, maybe there'll be a 10th added on
Rampage.
Rampage.
Look at that. Rampage. Rampage. The show that is A, taped 90% of the time, B, you can't figure out what time slot it's in because it's preempted by either hockey or basketball or whatever else Turner decides to show on a Friday. Ramp, and you filled out a third of your card. Oh, yeah, no. Horrible build. But again, they've been on a streak of subpar builds, but Revolution delivered. So it's like, once we get there, it should deliver.
We know that it will. I mean, Revolution was probably one of the 2 or 3 best, I'd say 3 best AEW pay-per-views that they've done. 23, and the build was terrible.
It also had
It
a
wasn't good.
banger of a main event.
Mm-hmm. Moxley Hangman, for what it was worth for some, was phenomenal. For me, it was phenomenal. There were some things that were a little grotesque, but I think
Oh, I loved it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You and I both loved it. I'm sure there's a good portion of the audience that loved it. There's probably a portion of the audience that didn't like it. So it all just depends on your cup of tea. But from start to finish, that pay-per-view was super entertaining. Just like Full Gear last year, 22, which that build was worse
Yeah,
maybe than the other 2, and that pay-per-view over-delivered to a point where the main event might have been like the 5th or the 6th best match on the card that night. So we
definitely
have,
so.
but and I mean, let's just start from the bottom first and foremost. And I'm going to read off this checklist. This isn't necessarily the bottom because Adam Cole and Chris Jericho has been a feud now for about 6 weeks. It's been interesting to say the least, but here we go again with Chris Jericho facing off with somebody that's likely going to be quote unquote elevated maybe in this, and Cole might be the only one out of this entire picture, maybe Orange Cassidy, that is probably destined for higher marks than when he went in with Jericho. I guess MJF you could also count as well, but it's just those 2.
Yeah. Yeah, for reason. AEW chair does not make you feel bigger after you get over him because I still don't know what the whole Ricky Starks thing was like, other than a waste of 2 months of TV. It was bad. It was bad. Like you did Ricky Starks no favors, and now Ricky Starks is in the thing with Jay White, which is funny because when Juice Robinson first attacked Ricky Starks, I sat there and watched and I said, "Oh, Jay White is signed to AEW." I
Good
started,
call.
I started to tweet it, and then I was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna possibly take the risk of somebody." No, no, because think about it. Why the fuck is Juice Robinson on my TV?
Tony Storm. That's the only reason I can think of.
That's it. I was like, cool. Tony Storm is here. Jay White is a free agent. Jay White was had just left Japan, left New Japan, was the biggest supporter, always had Juice Robinson around him in every Bullet Club promo. I was like, this is obvious if you just stop for a second. But yeah, no, Cole Jericho unsanctioned match. Expect a whole bunch of shenanigans from Hager, his hat, and the rest of the Jericho Appreciation Society. I don't think Kyle O'Reilly is healthy, and I don't think Bobby Fish wants to go back to work for Tony Khan. So Roddy gonna have to put in some work tonight to help out Cole. Cole should get the win because Jericho doesn't need a win at this point. And
Yes,
you've got to establish Cole because I think Cole might be next in line for MJF at some point
that is possible.
before
Yes,
before you turn Adam Cole heel because he can only be a babyface for so long.
that is the truth. Yeah, Roderick Strong won tonight, by the way. He wrestled Daniel Garcia, which makes me sad because now Daniel Garcia is back down the card. Go figure. There was a surprise tonight. a very, I guess from a one-off perspective, this is going to be a interesting surprise to say the least, because I have no idea how this guy can walk anymore. Sabu is going to be involved in this match. Yes, I just said Sabu.
But why?
As a one-off, because he lives in Las Vegas, Nevada.
But why?
That's what Adam Cole apparently exactly. I don't necessarily know if Sabu and Jericho had a past from
I'm sure
ECW.
they.
I don't. Jericho was only there for about 7 months. He wrestled 2 Cold Scorpio, Taz. You wrestled Pitbull 2. I mean, I don't think if Jericho and Sabu had an interaction, it might have been one match, if that. So Sabu's going to be either in the corner of Adam Cole or at some point just he's going to be involved in this unsanctioned match, which yes, Adam Cole is going to win. And let's just hope that his body holds up. That's all I'm rooting for is this man's had some huge head issues. Just want him to be healthy.
So yes, they had a match in 1996.
So it's ECW.
Yep.
Okay. One match. Yeah. Maybe they were, yeah, because Jericho wrestled in FNW for like a half second. Maybe they saw each other in war. I don't know. But Sabu's been everywhere. But that guy, like I said, how in the world can he walk?
How is he alive right now?
We all want to know that. Yeah. For those who don't know Sabu, do your homework. Just go. I'll give you one match to watch, and go into it with adult glasses on. Hide the women, hide the children. Sabu Terry Funk, born to be wired, August of 1997. It's
God,
the only match that I've ever had to turn away from.
the man's nickname and gimmick is the homicidal, genocidal, suicidal, and he lived up to it for 20, 30 plus years. Like, and what's really weird is Sabu is actually a pretty great technical wrestler.
Yeah, yeah, very similar to like Mick
But
Foley.
you know, yeah,
Just
Bob wire
went
sells.
with his gimmick. By the way, Taz with the line of the night on AEW Dynamite when they announced him, he goes, "Hey, I know that guy." So good.
Oh, Taz is great on
One of
commentary.
the greatest feuds in ECW history, Sabu and Taz. Oh, that I could watch any day of the week. Here's a match that should not be on this card. The Hardy Party. That's Jeff Matt and Isaiah Cassidy going against Ethan Page and the Guns. I like the Guns. I think that's about it from this crew. This match does nothing for me.
So I look at Ethan Page, and Ethan Page was really, really good in Impact
Yeah, I was wrong about
with
him.
with Josh Alexander and by himself. Ethan Page was great. Ethan Page got to AEW, got paired with Scorpio, and I was like, okay, we're doing something here. I don't know why they keep missing the ball, how they keep messing up Ethan Page, but Ethan Page should easily be a TNT champion, international champion. That perfect upper mid card heel asshole. Like he's perfect for it. Gun are won me over during their tag team run. That
Yes.
fatal four way tag match was a banger with Danhausen, Orange Cassidy, and I forgot who else was in it. The Guns are good. And
Oh,
here
I
is
could tell
my
you the other team. We're going to see them again in a tag team title match. Get to that later.
oh, that's right, the last Cowboy. Boy, Effie put Jeff Jarrett over, and I regret it now every day.
Oh, we'll get into that later.
Yeah. And here's my problem: the Hardy Party. Isaiah Cassidy. I love Private Party. The other one's hurt. Cool. They should have won the tag titles very first go round in the tournament. A few years too late to rewrite that wrong. Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy's Matt Hardy. For better or worse, you know what you're getting. Broken Matt Hardy, non-broken, whatever. Matt Hardy, great mind, great coach, great in these lower card roles where he can help elevate people, get somebody over. Great as a mentor. Cool. Jeffrey Hardy,
This is a tough one.
go home, Go be a father, go be a husband, go be a son, go be a brother, go to rehab, go to therapy, go do anything that does not involve you doing any type of pro wrestling. I don't care if it's a charity show at the local high school. I never need to see Jeff Hardy on a TV in a wrestling ring ever again because I don't know how many times it's going to take a company to get burned by him to realize the risk is not worth the reward. The pop that you get is not worth putting this man in a position where he could potentially relapse again. Is this on Jeff Hardy? Yes. Is this also on his employer? Yes. Because Jeff Hardy, for all intents and purposes, has enough money here. He doesn't need to do this. Stop giving him the chance to do it. Go home. You brought Jeff Hardy in. He immediately got caught. DUI, suspended license, all that. I think the court case is still pending. It's been pushed back a few times. Send him home. Pay him to not be here. It's not going to hurt you, Tony. Jeff Hardy's not moving the needle that much. Send Jeff home. Jeff wasn't even in that much of the firm deletion. Like he wasn't featured that much. Send him home. It looks like he's not healthy. Like he's not clear to wrestle. He hasn't been that physical outside of his usual spots. Send him home. Just for the greater good. Jeff Hardy has had his run. I don't think Jeff Hardy has figured out what he needs to figure out. And yes, it could sound harsh as me sitting here criticizing a man who, for all intents and purposes, fits the description of an addict and has a problem. Sure, greater good. Don't enable it. You can say, oh, he might be worse if he's at home. Maybe, but if he's at home, it's messed up as it sounds. It's only him and those that are immediately around him. Now you're putting other people in harm's way. It's the greater good here. And again, Jeff's body can't take this. Just look how he moves. Jeff's body can't take this. Save the man from himself, Tony Khan. Tony, that's it. Save Jeff Hardy from himself, please. We thank Jeff for the 20 plus years of memories. Save him from himself before he ends up being another cautionary, tragic wrestling tale. Because I'm watching a dark side of the ring play out, and we're all unfortunately hoping the ending is not a dark side of the ring ending. As far as who wins, give me Page and the Guns because I'm sick of this whole Matt Hardy, Ethan Page back and forth thing that's been going on for like 8 months.
I'm with you. I definitely believe that Ethan Page and the Guns are going to win this because the Guns, I think, of all the people involved, is need the shine more than the rest. And you nailed everything about Jeff Hardy. But I guess the thing, we're not in his shoes. It's 20 some odd years of doing something that you're passionate about, and you're gonna do whatever it takes to be involved, and that includes the lifestyle that goes with it. So if you go back to all that I mean, like, when it's all over, what do you do? I know, and that's a very difficult thing for him to comprehend. I think this is tougher on Tony Khan. I don't think this was a great decision to bring him back, just because of the
Shouldn't
reasons you just stated.
you shouldn't have hired him to begin with because we get it. He left WWE under questionable circumstances. According to Matt, said they never tested him, or when they tested him, he came back clean. There was no issues. They just decided to cut him. Whatever. The track record says he's bound to mess up. Just take a dart, throw it at a calendar, pick a date. You'll probably be within a couple of days. As messed up as it sounds, it is what it is. Risk reward. You're not going to give the Hardys a tag team title run. Who are the Hardys? The Hardys aren't going to work every week and put somebody over. What are we getting out of this? You can't treat the Hardys like Sting. You can't have that many people on your roster. And to Sting's credit, Sting has been relatively a model citizen since he got his life back together back in the 90s. Risk reward. I don't see it with Jeff Hardy because, again, Impact, TNA, you had that moment. Several WWE moments. Another run back through Impact, he had a moment. I can't do it. And also, he ain't cheap. I highly doubt he was cheap for Tony Khan to sign. I highly doubt that was a cheap contract. So,
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers go to Jeff Hardy.
yeah.
That's what we're gonna say right here, into the Hardy family. Just hopefully the next year he gets out unscathed, retires, and we'll definitely have a lot of in-ring memories to celebrate and commemorate, and we'll try to forget about the demons from the past as long as he can. So hopefully he can move on to something bigger and better once he's done. Women's TBS Championship match. Taya Valkyrie wrestled this evening. She defeated Lady Frost. That was a fun match. But she'll be taking on undefeated Jade Cargill, 59-0. This will be the second iteration of this match. This match has been, let's see, this feud started at the right after Revolution. It was in Winnipeg, Canada, when Taya Valkyrie made her debut. Obviously, I think we both agree that Jade's retaining here.
500 plus days as champion, 59-0. This is going to sound incredibly messed up because I like Jade. I love the cosplay. I love the outfits. Why does Jade Cargill not get the same amount of hate that Roman Reigns gets? What's the difference?
I don't know. Maybe people care a lot more about Roman than they do Jade. I don't have another answer.
Other than card positioning and company, one being a man, one being a woman, Jade Cargill has ran through a whole entire division twice over. The lower half of AEW's women's division has
Mm-hmm.
been ran through by Jade Cargill. The only people she has not beaten are Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker. I'm pretty sure she got Athena out of here. Um,
Tony
Saraya,
Storm.
Tony Storm. Like it is literally that top elite bubble of the same four faces that she has not touched or crossed paths with. But you bring in Taya, you bring in Athena, you bring in um not Velvet, but Kier Hogan. You bring all them in.
Yep. Yep.
Great names, great talent, and you feed them to a monster.
That's what you've
At
done so
some,
far.
at least when Goldberg was running through people, they were nobodies. They were the Hugh Morrises of the world. They were this, they were that. They were people on the down end, random jobber. Also, the streak literally went from like 63-0 to like 89-0 overnight. Like
Very quickly.
at least WCW cooked the books. We've watched all 59 of these Jade Cargill wins. Like,
And one of those wins, by the way, was against Thunder Rosa.
oh, there you go. So, boom.
Semifinals of the TBS Championship tournament. I had to make sure. I was like, didn't she beat Jade or Thunder Rosa, or did Ruby Soho beat Thunder Rosa? But it was Jade.
And then she beat Ruby too. So
Yes.
you are running out of challengers for this belt. You can't keep bringing in new people and getting them beat and fed to a monster. That being said, Jay Cargo wins.
Yeah. Tony's waiting for one woman to come back, but here's my question: Can you trust somebody with two busted ACLs?
See, Statlander would have been the perfect person. I still think Statlander's the perfect person,
She's
but
got to stay healthy.
she's just unlucky.
Yeah, it's like a Tegan Knox, Dakota Kai, for example, just got injured again. Same
Yeah,
cases, just unlucky.
just poor luck.
Very much so.
And here's my thing with Jay Cargo, real quick. 59-0, 60-0 likely after Sunday. You got to end the streak before it hits 75 or 100. And when you end it, what happens to Jade?
I know.
Does she go up or does she try to get the lick back? You're in a rock and a hard place because if you put her up, that says, okay, she just ran through 75 people before she took an L. She should be first in line. And in theory, she probably
Mm-hmm.
should get whoever the champ is out of here unless you go with the adage and of, oh, they're too experienced for her. Then you quickly deflate Jade Cargo. So now you devalue everybody else. You are in a very tough place to be. And I am glad I am not Tony Khan or Will Washington or anybody over there helping make creative decisions.
You know, I'll save that for the end. I actually kind of want to bring up Will Washington in this case. He's living out a lot of our podcasters, I wouldn't say fantasies necessarily, but kind of like he's just living out some maybe a dream or two of ours, and I'm just curious if he's the right person for it. I questioned a little bit, but that's just me. And I really like Will Washington a lot as a person. So, Orange Cassidy will be in a blackjack battle royal for his AEW International Championship, and we have seen QT Marshall and his crew, Aaron Solo, Powerhouse Hobbs himself, and then Ricky Starks tonight is the only other competitor that has been named. Yes. So what you did miss was when Ricky announced he was going to jump in it, Juice and Jay jumped him. That's that. So, and that's the thing with Ricky Starks and Jay White, which you just mentioned, by the way. Those are two guys that should be near the main event right now. They shouldn't be feuding with each other. One of them has to be demoted. So there's that.
Yeah.
Let's get the bright side out of this way. Is Orange Cassidy and his title defenses have been some of the best things on TV. He had another one tonight with Kyle Fletcher from Aussie Open. I thought that was one of the better performances that he's put on. And by the way, TK just added to the roster. Aussie Open is now All Elite. Another tag team. Which we'll get into that later because the tag teams and the trios, they're watering each other down. And we had a trios talk the last time you were on, Jacob.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I did see some clips of Orange and Fletcher. That was a good match. Great match. Orange Cassidy could always go. I'm glad to see that he's starting to show people that he's more than just the hands in a pocket gimmick. It's great. It's cool. Why is there a 21 man battle royal for this title? I hate random battle royals. I hate battle royals for belts. And the fact that it's 21 is because you're in Vegas. It's double or nothing. Like, come on, Tony.
The only one that ever worked was the 1992 Royal Rumble. The only
Right.
one that's ever worked.
And that was more or less out of necessity. So, Orange Cassidy, Aaron Solo, QT Marshall, Ricky Starks. We'll assume Jay White and Juice will be in there.
And
Powerhouse
Powerhouse
Hobbs.
Hobbs.
I could talk all day about the mismanagement of Powerhouse Hobbs.
I have questions about that as well, and these championships, which we'll get into that next with Wardlow and Christian. But let's stay on. Also, we'll keep us on task here.
Yeah. Um, Jay White, Ricky Starks, Juice Robinson, they'll cancel each other out. I guess this is a way to keep things going without having to put a match there. Cool. I'm sure we'll get a debut or a return or two in this. If Andrade's healthy, it wouldn't shock me if he showed up. Collision is coming in what, 3 weeks? Maybe you throw Miro in here. He popped back up, and I think is still trapped in Tony's office with Thunder Rosa. So,
Yeah, all of the WWE refugees have moved over to Collision.
right? Like anybody else see that? But yeah. Whatever. Orange Cassidy wins.
There's zero arguments for me. He's one of the most interesting things right now going on AEW. I enjoy his presence. I enjoy his matches. Never thought I'd say that. I'll give you a question. Can you ever see him? He had a great match with Omega and Pac at Double or Nothing a couple of
Hmm.
years ago. Could you see him contending for the AEW World Championship again, or even having a one-off title match with MJF? I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I was going to say, whenever he drops this belt, he has to immediately get slotted into the world title picture.
That'd be great.
It's either that or the trios title. But if he does trios, I want to see them do it with a twist, and it requires Statlander to be healthy.
So who's their third person?
You could take, you could go OC, either one of the best friends. You could go Chuck, and you could do Statlander and run trios like that. Make it an agenda, or you could throw Rocky in there. You got options with the best friends in that whole collective. A healthy Danhausen, you could do that. Give him a good trios run, or put him in the world title picture.
Yeah, it's the only place for him to go. He's earned it now. My gosh, like I said, everything he's done on TV has been great, matches wise. His character's still hilarious.
Mhm.
It's different. It's working. It works with this, connects with this audience, and it's made the AEW International Championship the second best championship in this promotion. So let's move to what should be the second title match or second title in this promotion, TNT Championship. We have Wardlow versus Christian Cage. I mean, there's part of me that thinks Christian Cage wins this. Wardlow moves on to like a 1 month feud with MJF. MJF gets his win back. Wardlow fades into obscurity. Another part of me thinks Wardlow wins this, finds a way, and continues his story with Luchasaurus. But I don't know. What do you think?
Why is this happening? Why does Wardlow have the belt?
It's
When the whole
insane. Powerhouse Hobbs should still be the champion right now. Without a doubt,
what,
he should not be with QT Marshall and his crew, in my personal opinion. I think a lot of people
right.
would agree with me, but these belts are interchangeable, and who gets these championship matches are interchangeable, except for the people who are contending for the big belt. Everything is
Right.
interchangeable, and that's become a problem.
Wasn't the whole point of QT Marshall in the Book of Hobbs to make sure you kept Hobbs as champ, and then he lost it like 2 weeks later? I I'll be honest with you. I don't care about the TNT title because that belt more or less is Tony woke up and was like, "It's your turn. Go a couple weeks. Oh hey man, hadn't seen you around here. Here's the TNT title shot. Your turn. You win tonight." It's a whim belt. Like I get hot potatoing it if it's between two people and you're telling a great story. Sure, this makes no sense. However, I love Christian. Christian is one of the best heels in business still.
Indeed.
I think Wardlow wins only because we get to Wardlow Luchasaurus, and this is how you have to get there. So Wardlow wins. Also, I don't know why Arn Anderson is around, but whatever. There's a lot of questions about why people are paired with who they are paired with in AEW. Why I have so many old people on my TV? Hint, hint.
Yeah, that's become a problem, and now you can't use these older folks for nostalgic. I mean, you can use them for nostalgic pops, but you can't use them for ratings. It's already been shown. They're not going to do anything for your ratings. Once the NBA and NHL are done, we're going to go back up to 1 million viewers for AEW. But then when it comes
Maybe.
back, it's going to go right back down to 850 on a consistent basis. The last 2 years, I think, have told a pretty good story of what the ratings are going to look like for AEW. They're going to have a period where they're going to hit 1 million for about month and a half, 2 months straight, and then they're going to go right back down to 800, 850, where they are now. That audience, I don't think, is too sick of that product. They still love it. There are things to love about this product, folks. Yes, I promise. There are a couple of things I do like about this product, but let's get into the other women's championship match. And we're getting a rematch from Full Gear 2022. Jamie Hayter and Tony Storm.
I
Jacob, who do you
don't
like here?
care. uh, Jamie Hayter because Jamie Hayter is great. I just feel like all this whole Outcast versus original thing was like setting up for maybe I don't know a women's anarchy in the arena, women's blood and guts in a couple weeks maybe. I'm guessing somebody got hurt because I'm not sure why, other than maybe hey we got to defend the belt, but it'll be a good to great match. I'm kind of over the storyline. Hater wins to keep things going, or maybe Tony Storm gets it because Tony likes the hot shot belts.
Yeah, Jamie's held it for 6 months now. I'm still kind of waiting for that Britt Baker Jamie Hayter feud to surface at some point. Maybe that's going to be it all out. Could be a little bit later on. I don't know how long they're going to keep telling this, but yeah, Jamie should retain. She's great. Crowd still loves her. She is one of the few things I am enjoying quite a bit about AEW Dynamite these days. That's for sure. So, and that's the thing, Tony, by the way. You don't have the Acclaimed on this card. Just think if you had the Acclaimed still as your tag team champions, Jamie Hayter and MJF, just like you when you left Full Gear 2022. I think you'd just tell more coherent and consistent stories instead of taking the tag titles away from the Acclaimed. For what reason?
Because you had to find a way to get them back to FTR to keep FTR in the company. You didn't want to beat the Acclaim with FTR.
And let's move to that. FTR is facing Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. Everybody knows how I feel about Jeff Jarrett, so I'll keep this brief. I will say that the segment with them at the Briscoe farm popped me. I think that's the best thing Jeff Jarrett has done in years. And ever since then, I'm just like, okay, that's enough. He can just get off my television. I hope FTR retains. Heaven forbid Jeff Jarrett gets a championship. Why? I don't understand this. I really don't. Jacob?
This is Jarrett's third title match since coming to AEW. He had an All Atlantic or
Yep.
international title match. He had one tag title shot. Yeah, this is his third or fourth crack at it.
Yep.
Here's
He had the first international championship match. Yeah, that's right. Because that's when they flipped it over from the All Atlantic to international.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing in this match. Mark Briscoe is your guest ref. Yeah, the segment at the Briscoe Farms was hilarious. Like Papa Briscoe is money.
I loved it. It was great.
You could have Briscoe screw FTR. There's a lot of ways you could go, but I don't need Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal with gold in 2023. I don't want to feel like I'm like, well, that's going to sound backhanded because I don't want to feel like I'm watching early Impact. Like that was some good stuff, but that's almost 20 years ago. No.
FTR used that line tonight in their promo. Yeah. Dax and Cash went to town on the promo. That was actually a fun segment tonight where Mark Briscoe slapped Dax Harwood, walked out of the ring. Then the Jarrett crew came down and he slapped all of them. Looked right in Jay Lethal's face. It was, I love you, man, but I ain't going out like this, and just walked away.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a great story. I think FTR retains because why take the belts off of FTR? To go
There's
to
no
those
point.
two.
There is 0 point, but that's the problem with the trios and the tags is who's where. You need to distinguish these trios or form some super trios to really make it like the Elite. They're a super trio. CM Punk and FTR.
FTR?
Exactly. They're a super trio. The House of Black, they're starting to become, in a sense, I guess, a super trio. I'd like to see a couple of them work individually. I just don't know if that's going to happen.
Oh, House of Black is great. Like House of Black, if you play it right, can be AEW's New Day.
Interesting.
In the sense of you never have to break them up, but they can easily run solo.
Easily. Mm-hmm.
And they could probably, I think Julia Hart is like the number 1 merch mover over at AEW.
Somebody said that a week or two ago. That was top 5? Yeah. It was Warren Hayes, my last guest, that said that Julia Hart's a top 5 merch mover. I'm like, what? That's insane.
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, I'm just saying. It's there. You could do it.
Good for
Hire
her.
me, Tony.
Good for her. They hired Will Washington. They're going to hire Jacob DeLawrence next.
Hey, I'm only a couple hours away from Jax.
Exactly. Tony, hit up the hotline. We got 2 more matches left. I'm going to go to the World Championship match first. Unfortunately, what we have seen is 2 very flawed pillars when it comes to their promo ability in Sammy Guevara and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Darby Allin has had some good promos at times, and then at times he's had some not so good promos. He's the only one that I would put maybe 2 steps below MJF's league. It's obvious that Maxwell Jacob Friedman right now is the one and only pillar, and it's by pretty distinguished margin. Unfortunately, the idea in theory was good, but in my opinion, they should have ran with MJF and Darby. I think that would have been the most compelling story because Guevara and Jungle Boy aren't ready.
Ooh, you want to talk about exposing yourself for no reason? I think, and here's the funny part: we had that Sting promo, and you would think Sting would easily like out promo Darby. Nah, Darby has held his own with or without Sting. It's just, you know who's going to come out looking the worst out of all of this? Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy has been on a slippery slope slash downward spiral ever since the split from the tag team. Because it's like you won the Luchasaurus feud and you won the Christian feud, but did you really win it? And then you roll into this as one of the four pillars, and all you've been done, all that's happened to you is just you've been eviscerated by MJF and just shown that hey, when it comes to promo, you are the weakest link by a country mile. And Darby has shown people, oh, I can cut a promo. I can hold my own. I'm good. I don't need Sting as much as people think I need Sting. And we all knew Sammy was Sammy. We all knew Sammy's an asshole. Sammy could talk. It's a different type of talk. We all know Sammy could go. So we're like, cool. Sammy is who we thought he was. Darby's better than we expected. And Jungle Boy is probably lower than we thought. And MJF is MJF. Jack Perry eats the pin.
I think it makes the most sense. It's either the only one I don't think it's going to be is Darby Allin.
Right. I think Darby does something. I think Darby hits a coffin drop on Jungle Boy. MJF slides in, throws Darby out, puts on Salt of the Earth, gets Jack Perry to tap out, maybe uses the Dynamite Ring, something.
I'd pop if that happens with Darby hitting Jungle Boy with the coffin drop, and then MJF throws him out of the ring and he beats Jungle Boy with a headlock takeover. They've been referring to this the last few weeks. Darby's talking about winning with a headlock takeover over MJF on Sunday night. MJF said the same thing over the last month. Hey, that'd be an interesting ending to a match. MJF's just in a class, and his promo tonight was very good again, like always, and it wasn't as long, which was even better. He kept it short for MJF standards. It was to the point. Did very well. Yeah, he's head and shoulders above that crew. Now we just need to get some of the guys that are a little more established on the microphone that can tell better stories, so we can get him in the mix here with MJF. The problem is you got the main crew are tied up in the what likely or may not be the main event, but should be the main event.
It definitely should, but I think Tony is such a wrestling traditionalist that you close with your world title. So
I agree with it. Do you?
You close with what's hot. You
Okay.
close with the best story. Because if I'm in Puerto Rico, I
Oh,
probably close with Bad Bunny. If like Montreal, you had to close with Roman
and
and
that was the
Sammy.
title match. There was
Right,
no
but
title match at Backlash.
even if you took the title, say that Roman Sammy wasn't a title,
Mm-hmm.
that's the hottest thing you had going. The belt just made it a little bit hotter, but that didn't need a belt. Like there's some things that are bigger than the belt at times. And Anarchy in the Arena is bigger than the belt, especially when this is the main event that you're giving us with these four pillars.
Tremendous promo again tonight by the Blackpool Combat Club, more so Jon Moxley than the others. He cut a promo in the back for 2.5 minutes and cut a promo at the end after the Lucha Brothers and Claudio and Wheeler match, and just said this is going to be the bloodiest match in AEW history. You ain't seen nothing yet. From what we've seen from Jon Moxley over the last 4 years in AEW, ooh, ooh, Y'all better be putting on your like blood spattering suits like you're in an episode of Dexter or something.
Duh. This this is going to be great and violent and grotesque and everything that I love with pro wrestling. And it couldn't be better. I just want to know, where does Don Callis fit into this?
He ran like a scalded dog at the end, like when Kenny's music hit, then the Blackpool Combat Club came out. Callis was long gone. So great question.
Because you don't do that turn and you don't have that whole exclusive of Callis on the phone with somebody and not have the thought process that this has to pay off or advance in some form. And Anarchy in the Arena is literally Anarchy in the Arena. We saw the match
Mm-hmm.
last year. We all know the classic photo of Eddie Kingston coming down with the gas can. Like,
Oh, I miss Eddie Kingston.
I I think the BCC wins over the Elite, or you know what? No, Moxley and Company and their quest and thirst for extra blood do something that gets them caught up, and Kenny and Company still won. Or maybe Callis interjects somehow and it backfires. But whatever way, this is leading to blood in the guts. We're not done with this.
Yep. That's why I have Blackpool Combat Club winning this match. I think that the Elite will probably get their revenge at Blood and Guts, wherever that's going to take place, sometime, and maybe it'll be right before, or will it be after Forbidden Door? It might be that Wednesday after
Be
Forbidden Door.
be midsummer, so
Yeah, right around Collision time.
I was gonna say, if you really want to make a statement, we've read the reports that the Elite aren't the biggest fans of Chick Magnet Punk and
Correct.
so on and so forth. Mainly the brothers Jackson. Omega's like, all right, cool, I'll talk to you. We can do business. We ain't got to be friends.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, the adult way to go about it, if you ask me. Debut episode, Collision, United Center. We already know Punk is basically coming back. Like, it is what it is. Another worst kept secret. Could be wrong, but if I was a betting man, why not main event with blood and guts? Show me that you feel like Collision is important and it's not just a 2 hour rampage.
That is a great way to do things. Yeah, Father's Day weekend. Oh, that'd be lovely. Blood and Guts
Just
on a
saying.
Saturday night.
Just saying. You want to tell me that Collision is important? Then do it. Show me that you actually think this is going to be good and something that's worth investing into.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on that at all. So we both agreed as well on MJF. Let's ask this final question before we close. Who does MJF move on to Adam Cole right next? Do you think, or where does he go?
Hmm, I wish I had that list he wrote out, but if you were smart, all in is what, September, August.
Late August.
So you got 2 months to play with. You got June and July. You run Darby out of this. You finish up Darby, and then you go on to whoever. Or you know what you could do? Because All In is such a different, unique little one-off, and allegedly All Out is like the very next week, which you might want to change that, guys. That's a lot. Um, why not Sting?
He's undefeated. He's posed every time he's wrestled.
Hey man, you gotta find something. I'm sure there's something in Wembley Sting can jump off. Sting, MJF, Wembley, throw the career versus title. Do whatever.
Perfect.
Make MJF more hated. It's the perfect idea.
Perfect. MJF retires Sting.
Exactly. It's the perfect idea. And then you can go into Adam Cole for the fall. Because I'm telling you, you're going to have to rehabilitate and heal Cole some more. So, real quick, I know that was the last topic and everything. There's
Throw
one
something
thing
in.
on this card that is missing. There's just
Oh, I
one thing
can.
that's missing on this card.
I know what's missing. But I'm gonna let you go ahead.
Where the fuck is Swerve and Keith Lee?
Hmm. That's another
I
reason why
swear,
I'm angry at all Elite Wrestling right now.
I swear, if it's on the buy-in, just
I am not happy about this whatsoever. They broke up in early December, so we're approaching 5 months. We had this talk I think last fall about these two,
hmm
and I know, yeah, we're now a year past with Keith Lee. He's not going to sniff a world title ever. Ball has been completely dropped on him. Swerve, we have hope for, but it's one of those now I believe it when I see it type things because when he heats up, they take him off television for some reason. Just doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know what's going on over there. I just like I knew this wasn't on the card, but like when we went through it, it really hit me that this wasn't on the card. Like, no knock to Jade and Taya. Come on, really? You know, fine. Title match. Cool. Keep it. If you don't throw Jeff Hardy's ass on the damn buy-in,
Thank you. That is the easiest move to make is to get the Ethan Page match with the Hardys, the Guns, move it to the buy-in, throw Swerve Keith Lee on the main card. And they should be featured prominently now on Dynamite if you're going to do this whole Collision Dynamite split. Swerve should definitely be top 2-3 heel on Dynamite.
Swerve should have gold by the end of summer. Period. Point blank. I don't care if it's the TNT, the international. I don't care if he knocks off MJF. The man should have gold, and I'm not talking Ring of Honor gold either.
And what if he manages to sneak his way into this Blackjack Battle Royal? I don't see. It's what I'm saying. There's like 16 other guys there. I don't want
They'll
either
put
of
him
those
and Keith Lee
guys
in it.
to win it. Yeah. Oh, for
They'll put
sure. I
they'll.
don't. And Dustin
So
Rhodes.
I'm, so I'm gonna call it right now, and I'm gonna hate that I'm gonna say this. The final five in that Blackjack Battle Royal will be Orange Cassidy. I'm gonna say Jay White, which means you gotta have Ricky Starks there.
Yep.
Which means you're gonna have Keith Lee and Swerve. That is your final five in that battle royal.
Man.
And it ends with Swerve being so obsessed with Keith Lee and getting him out of there that he is the last one eliminated by Orange Cassidy. That is how Orange Cassidy retains. Swerve could have found a way to get Keith Lee out. Swerve's in his moment, whatever. Classic dump over. Ring the bell. Let's go home.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. I wanna see Swerve win a championship in a one-on-one confrontation.
Yeah,
At least I mean they've
and
held
then
tag
cool.
gold, but yeah, Swerve needs to hold singles gold by the end of the year. Ugh, that ship has sailed on Keith Lee, man. It's got Cisco's hair color now too. Mm.
Oh, Keith Lee is such a nerd, and I appreciate it as a nerd. Like you're showing range and diversity that, black's not a monolith, so on and so forth. Cool. But God, I've seen very few people have such a high rise and fall off in multiple companies as quick.
He has a vocabulary. He uses eloquent in a lot of his. I think he's used that. He's used so many different vocabulary words. He's used distinguished. There's so many others. It's Keith Lee. He's just a jolly happy man. Should be a monster, but
You ain't gotta be a monster,
uh,
just something.
instead, his best segment in AEW was with Rick Ross. And best believe you heard that segment right there, by the way. You just heard that soundbite, folks.
False accusations.
Oh, I popped so loud for that. One of my favorite segments of 2022.
God, that is
Yes.
great. That is such a great GIF to use.
Yeah. Swerve, Keith Lee. I know. I'm sad. I don't know what they're going to do with either of those two. And now with an expanded roster and 2 TV shows, they need to figure it out quick because
Like
you're starting to lose my
you
interest
got
just a little bit.
you gotta have close to 75 people on the roster now.
Oh, it's beyond that, I'd imagine.
Let's let me see here real
They've
quick.
signed folks left and right. This is how we're gonna close the show right now, Jacob. Is Jake? He's gonna do some investigating for us and tell us how
One,
many folks
two,
are on the AEW roster. Should play the Jeopardy theme
7,
music while we do this,
8,
but
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22,
ooh,
23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28.
do do
Oh,
do do.
hold on. They're still on the roster? 28, 29, 30.
Who's they?
So AEW's men's roster is broken down into rows of four, right?
Okay, yeah,
There are 30 rows of four plus a row of two. There are 100 and, if my math is right,
22.
yep.
122 male performers on the roster. Did they include
Yep.
Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis? Because they just signed tonight. Because that'd be
Let's see here.
124 if we don't have that yet.
No, they're there. They're included.
That's good for them updating it so fast.
But
Dang.
yeah, no, 122. And I was saying, ooh, they're still on the roster because I saw Sunny Kiss.
We had that discussion in the last podcast as well. Go back in the archives, everybody. Episode 88 or 89. It was 88. That's right. That was one of my finest
So,
moments in terms of podcasting skill was blending in Entourage and the Trustbusters theme music together. So,
all right, you know what? I'll say 120 because one of those is Brody Lee Jr., the other one is Brody Lee. So
yeah,
we'll say 120. We'll say 120.
that's fair.
However, I think this includes the Ring of Honor roster, which is
Okay.
whatever and fine. But still, that is just the men. And here's the women.
Woo! 4 times 12? It's got to be close to 50 by now. There's a lot. I'm just
Eight,
waiting for you to
so
say,
30,
okay,
34.
1/4 of the roster that the males have. And they're getting about the
But
fourth of the TV time, which makes sense,
but
unfortunately.
yet it's the same 6 women on my TV.
Mostly, yes. You got the aberration with Julia Hart and Anna Jay a couple weeks ago. That was it. Top 5 merch seller, Julia Hart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tony Khan just waiting for summer right now, folks. He's just waiting for Collision. He's just waiting to tour Canada. That's when all the hype will come back. New provinces, new places to go, and then that's his hope right now. Then he goes to England, but then after that, when you get into September, you come back to Chicago. Then what do you have? It's all down to booking.
160 wrestlers, basically.
Yes.
And, like, I get it. There's people like Matt Sydal.
Mhm.
Cool. Fine. Serena Deeb. I get it. But also,
Madison
you
Rain, I'd
can't,
imagine's on there.
yeah, but you can't find time to put, oh, I don't know, let's just say Butcher and the Blade. You can't find time to get them on TV or get Brock Anderson some reps, but you can find time for Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal.
Mm-hmm. And QT Marshall.
and QT Marshall.
Yep.
So yeah,
Jeff
yeah,
Jarrett.
yeah. We got something positive to end this on.
I think we do. I think we do. Actually, I don't. It's a very compelling video episode number 2 and episode 126 of the Unplugged Wrestling podcast, by the way, which is on Google, Apple, and Spotify. I'm not even going to go into the rest of the details just yet. We can think of something positive to end with. Let's end with your socials and projects. We got to get you started again. I'm going to poke the bear. Can't have Blue Wire Hustle alumni being idle.
Yeah, this is true. I am on Twitter @JDella. You can follow my co-host of the semi-defunct, hibernated detox of a podcast known as the We Got Next podcast. That is my co-host, Mr. Cedric Welton. He is at @said_says. That is CEDD_SAYS. The show is at _We Got Next. Next is spelled NXT, like the black and yellow, the brand that we cover and follow. And yeah, thank you, Jesse, for always, inviting me on. Whenever we get back to doing our show, you have an open invite, sir. This has been fun. And they really got Sammy going to Saudi Arabia.
We have to end on something positive. Come on now. Oh,
okay.
no.
You want something positive?
Sure.
WWE is going to have more women's wrestling matches and more women's time in Saudi Arabia than AEW will this weekend.
Matches, yes. You think time? Aren't those both going to be squash matches? I know Trish and Becky won't, but Natalya and Rhea Ripley?
That's going to get a good 5 to 10. It's Natty. They don't hold Natty out.
Bianca and Asuka? Well, yeah, that'll get some time. That'll definitely get some time.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. I will give you something positive, and we did say this at the very beginning with AEW Double or Nothing. Even though the builds weren't the greatest, we know that it's going to show its ass out and then some when it actually is appeared on our screen on Sunday night. And I can truly tell you folks out there, I do believe the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club is well worth the price of the admission. That's got potential to be match of the year. It's going to be the craziest probably match of the year because who the heck knows what in the world they're going to do. I don't know if there's going to be an Eddie Kingston gas can moment like Jacob alluded to earlier, but hey, John Moxley might die trying.
Oh, there's going to be something.
Oof.
So real quick before we get out of here, over under 2.5 minutes before blood.
Under. It's going to be quick.
Bet. Yep.
Under. Chuck Woolery style. 2 minutes and 2 seconds. John Moxley will blade. We'll figure it out. Probably Hangman Page who cuts him open.
Oh,
speaking of which, is Hangman going to pull a Moxley in this match and remove his eye patch and reveal that he can see? I think it's a yes.
No, he might take a fork to that eye patch.
Yeah. Yeah, he went to new levels in that match. Jeez. Moxley's drug Hangman and Omega to the depths of hell in those matches that he's had with those guys. Oof.
Yep. So yeah, there you go. There's a good note. We are telling you that if you are unsure about buying Double or Nothing, buy it for Anarchy in the Arena alone. And if you want a taste of it, go look at last year's. I'm sure you can find it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
We're a generation of bootleggers. We'll find it.
Exactly. Again, Eddie Kingston and the gas can and 7 minutes of Wild Thing being played before they had to cut it, or Chris Jericho pulled the plug on it. So somebody's theme music's going to play for a while. Let's hope at least. For all our sakes, let it be Wild Thing.
Let it be Flight of the Conchords on loop. Somebody forgot to change the music.
Should be Europe's Final Countdown is what it should be. But
oh God,
just hear it 3 different times. We're heading to Venus.
It's Kansas. Wayward Son the whole time through. Let's go.
As much as I love that song and it's been my outro for 60% of probably the last 6 months of my podcast, no. I don't want that. No.
Well, let's go ahead and cue up Kansas now and get us on out of here.
Done deal. Jesse C. Velasquez on Twitter, Wrestling You and You on Twitter, Google, Apple, and Spotify, like I said earlier. Unplugged Wrestling Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe it on YouTube. Thank you so much for viewing and listening. For Jacob DeLawrence, my name is Jesse Velasquez. We'll see you on the flip side.